What's going on, guys? Hope you're having a great morning. It's a cold morning out here, 40, 38-ish degrees. Got this car here, customer of mine, a good friend. He dropped off. He had recently picked up car and kind of clean it up and just make it right and just, make it a good, fun car. This is a 1995 EJ Coupe. It's got the K24 A2. Lots of good bits inside there. He's got the Skunk 2 intake manifold, hybrid racing, fuel rail. It looks like he's got some RDX injectors. He wants me to go through the car and get it going right, and he's well aware there's quite the amount of things that need to be fixed in this car. With that being said, let's go over a few things that are gonna need to be done. So his alternator cables are being ran in between the intake manifold and the bracket here. This is a big issue just because over time this thing vibrates like hell. It's got the solid mounts. It's going to rub through this and start a fire, or turn the car off and you have nothing, or fry other electronics. So that's going to be one of the things that needs to be fixed. It is on the FT450, so there really isn't that many outputs, but we can actually do sequential injection and use wasted spark. It is currently wired up and running on batch fire for the injectors. So that means, let's say 1 and 3 are now tied together. When 1 is combusting, it's actually injecting fuel into this cylinder, and it's not even ready to, take the fuel. So it kind of makes it run a bit rough. You get poor fuel economy. It's just all around not that smooth. So that's going to be the first thing that we're going to want to address for runnability wise anyways. There's quite a few safety concerns that we want to get through and make sure that everything's good to go. We've got this throttle cable here. Sure, it works for now, but we'll get a bracket set up and might even have to get maybe a longer cable and run it back the other side. Gonna have to address quite a bit of the wiring. There's a few things that I noticed. One of the things was the back engine mount does not have a nut, and it is not all the way through. I found a couple other bolts here. That bottom one doesn't look like it's doing much either. And then we've got this one here, potentially just a long bolt going on there, and I don't know if I can focus it. Long bolt going on, and maybe that's why they put that nut as a spacer, which is okay as long as the threads aren't stripped. Yeah, and I think it's actually missing a couple bolts, so we're gonna want to get that fixed for sure. Don't want an axle snapping and leaving you left on the side of the road. I know that's the last thing he wants, especially if you're gonna be hitting the old 1-2 on this thing. Got all these coolant lines. Some of them aren't crimped fully. And I'm not bashing on anybody, at all. Shit happens, Sometimes you get over your head on some stuff and you just kind of keep trying to go because you want it to work. But sometimes it's good to just take a step back and, maybe seek help, and maybe they can teach you something, and you can actually take that yourself and do these things and not have to rely on somebody else. But, everybody has to start somewhere. Nobody can just be born with it. So that being said, it didn't run when it got here. There was quite a few reasons why. We got some of those addressed, went through the fuel tech and got things going pretty good. The return screw on this throttle here does not have a nut on it, so it will back out and idle will go up. But let's see if we can get it to run, and then we'll pull it in the shop and get some stuff going. And it does look like he did change out 2 coils out in the engine bay. Not sure if it had a bad coil or not, or maybe he was trying to chase the runnability issue, but that is something to note. This cable here that he's got running into the fuel tech there is definitely needs to be replaced. It is not good. It's frayed, and actually a ton of connectivity issues. So let's see if we can get this thing started and then into the shop. It is not going to run right. I got it to run, and that's all I can really say about that. Definitely does not run how it should. Also might need a starter. So that little misfire, we're gonna sort that out. Either that could be caused by the batch fire injection, or maybe they have a wire cross somewhere. I didn't really go too far into it, but it runs okay enough to get it into the shop, and that's what we're gonna do. So we never actually drove this thing. We pushed this off a trailer. So I guess we're gonna find out if the transmission works. I'm hoping so. The clutch, it's very soft. All right, it works. As you can imagine, the exhaust is ending right here, so I'm getting the full brunt of the sound and the smell. Ah, the good old days, running an open header going on the street. It's also got a flock dash, so that's kind of cool. Like I said, the guy put a lot of work into this car, just didn't have the right help in the right areas. And I also have not pulled the plugs yet to even see, so we still got the full range of things to do on this car, and we're gonna go through it and make sure it's all good for the guy. I cannot see shit. All right, well, it runs, it moves. It does have that nano band, or the nano wideband O2 sensor, so that's kind of nice. I think there's an exhaust leak, so we'll try and get everything on this car dialed in. First things first, we're gonna get the injection done and all the safety concerns. Yep, so you can see that right there, there's your header right there. It's dumping down right there. So, no full exhaust. Some R888s, some bald R888s in the front, and some slick R888s in the back. This thing is gonna be a unit when it's done though. It's gonna be a fun car. It's just gonna take a little bit of work. All right, we got the hood in service mode here. We're gonna go ahead and pull these spark plugs and just see what kind of condition is the engine in. We've got two junkyard coil packs here. Then looks like he bought some Denso, some nicer coil packs. I'm not sure if maybe these two were actually dead and that's why he swapped it out. But we're gonna go through it and see what all we gotta do. First, let's pull these out and see what's going on. All right, got all these bolts undone, and just wanted to come back and say, you know, it's the little things. You know, you got this little wire in the way. You can't really get to it. So we're gonna move that on over so that we can actually service these whenever we need to. All right, we'll pull them out. Oh, no, almost. Try that again. Let's try an easier approach. There we go. All right, well, we got iridiums, so that's good. Man. One-handed here. Oh, yep. Also quite rich. Good thing is none of them are blown apart. Yep, rich, and money is on probably rich, right? Rich. Cool. Put a little borescope in there and take a peek, just make sure the engine's good. Well, cylinder 4 looks all right. Still got some cross hatching, so the motor must be pretty decent. Not seeing anything too crazy. You know, a little bit of oil for sure, but it was just recently ran and it was not up to temp yet. So check out the other cylinder here. Of course, you know, it's gonna be at the top, so also a little oily, which is fine. Cross hatching looks okay. Nothing crazy. And then cylinder 2 here. Come on now. This is difficult to do with only 2 hands here. Looks good. Looks decent. Nothing crazy. Imagine, yeah, I'll probably look about that way. Oh yeah, looks fine. And then we'll do a compression test on this later on, but that's where we're at for now. So, next. And it does have coolant in it. I don't know if I want to get it up to temp just yet. There's quite a few kinks in the hoses here. Bottom and top, it probably will flow enough to keep it decently cool, but it's pretty bad. You know, you got the old radiator with the bolt in it. It works. Maybe might try and find a nut to go on one of these. I'm pretty sure it's like an M4 or something tiny. This one also doesn't have a stopper on it, so if you go full throttle, you could go too far, which would start to close it. While looking over this battery cable here, you've got the one for the alternator, the charge wire, and then one for the starter here. Trying to figure out how I'm going to route that. I think I'm going to either potentially go with the block out and around and then kind of come back. Unfortunately, I mean, we might be able to utilize these threaded holes to put a clamp on either side and route them up and over with some guard coming up and over. But then it kind of, you know, starts to go around the valve cover, which, I mean, probably would be all right. But I was looking at that and I noticed that the timing cover's actually missing one of the bolts here. This one that also holds the post mount in place. So we'll have to source a bolt for that as well. I think he's got maybe, let's see, we got one bolt here. And then is the bottom one in? Yes, the bottom one is also in. So you got 2 out of 3. That's all right. I've got a nice K-tuned header here. Missing, it looks like, or no, we're not missing anything on this one. I take that back, we actually are. We're missing a bolt down there, and then same on the very other corner, missing a bolt there. And it looks like that nut might not be, yeah, that is not fully tightened and hopefully not stripped. Might try and figure something else rather than that. Could make a longer coolant hose here and move the radiator over back to this side. And then it would just be a short connection from here to there. That would kind of get that away from that and give us a little more room for the intake. Probably do something like that. And like I said before, none of this is dogging on anybody. You know, this guy, I don't think he had access to a shop or the right tools for a lot of the things here. This is probably done outside or maybe in a small garage, you know. It's not easy for everybody to do this type of stuff. You know, I mean, I did start out in my driveway. I was doing engine swaps out of my driveway in the gravel, but not everybody's the same. So, like I said, not dogging on anybody. It is what it is. You know, we're just going to try and make things right for the customer, make sure that he's got a good running vehicle and, you know, at least get a lot of these safety issues figured out and a runnability, and then maybe he can move on to the cosmetic stuff, you know, the body of the car, the bumper hanging down, or maybe some of the wires he could figure out, or if he wants me to do them, I'm more than happy to do so. But that's all we're here for. We're just here to help people and not see these cars go to the junkyard. That's the biggest thing.